Welcome to the Everyone's a Critic movie review podcast. I'm your co-host, Bob Zerl.
Hey, I met you. You are not cool.
With me, as always, is professional film critic Sean Patrick.
I am the smart. I am the smart. S-M-R-T. I mean S-M-A-R-R-T.
And Josh Adams.
Stick around.
Visit us at IHateCritics.net. We're also at everyone'sacriticpodcast.com. We're on Facebook. Our Instagram and Twitter handle is CriticsPod. There you can view our top fives, watch the trailers, and any news we post, as well as read all of Sean's reviews that are up there, especially on Twitter and Facebook. And share them, comment. It's fun to fight over movies. We can fight with you if you want. Last week, I didn't thank our Patreon subscribers because it was just a weird episode. So I will lead the show off this week with that. If you want to be a Patreon supporter, go to IHateCritics.net/Patreon. That's the best way to help the podcast. You can donate as little as $1 a month to as much as you want. And you can stop anytime. It doesn't have to be monthly. Any way you want to help the podcast, we're greatly appreciative. And I want to start by thanking our key grip, Charlie Messing. Our character actors, Christina and Josh.
I think this is the beginning of a beautiful friendship.
What was the one after that? Our special effects, Corey.
May the force be with you.
Our associate producer, Jason from New Mexico.
This is crazy. You want me to hit you?
That's right.
What, like in the face?
Surprise me.
Our executive producer, Uncle Jeff.
You talking to me? You talking to me?
And our movie star, Dave Severs.
I want the truth! You can't handle the truth!
That's the best way to help the podcast out. IHateCritics.net/Patreon. And that'll help us grow the show. The other way to help us out is to go to iTunes and subscribe to the podcast, or Apple Podcasts, whatever it's called anymore. And then leave a rating and review. We'll read it on the air. There's also Stitcher, Google Play, and all the other podcatchers. But really going to iTunes or Apple Podcasts will help us move up the charts there. We do have a new review from Christina Cato, one of our Patreon supporters, and she said, this came out on Christmas Day, I listen to you guys every week, and you really didn't disappoint with your Last Jedi review last week. I appreciate the fair approach you all took to this movie. I'm a pretty hardcore fan, and then in quotes, customer and droid builder.
Yes.
I'm sorry, costumer. I'm stupid.
Yes.
I can't read. But I chose to ignore all previews and commercials until the movie came out. It allowed me to just enjoy the movie for what it was and not what I expected it to be. It's a lost art, I think. Looking forward to the next episode. Thanks, guys. Christina.
Well, thank you, Christina. Yeah. Feel free to share costume images, especially if they're Star Wars related, to our Everyone's a Critic Instagram page or something like that. I'd be interested in seeing what you've done with your work.
I'm a big fan of the costume people.
Oh, yeah.
Always the nicest, too. And I had the best. They gave me the best experience when I went to see Phantom Menace back in '99. Just watching those guys. It was amazing. They put on shows down in the front of the theater.
And they are braver than I. There's a level that I won't go to, and it's because, number one, I don't fit into anything that they can fit into. Number two, I just can't attract the attention. And then, I mean, the third part is, like, my fandom goes to a certain level, and then I'm like, all right, I don't need to dress up to experience it. And I know that is fueled by the first two items that I mentioned.
Yeah, no, Josh does a lot with the Instagram. He'll do a lot of fan art here and there on Fridays, so cosplay stuff would be a neat addition to our Instagram as well. So,
anytime.
Let's see. We got 2 new trailers and then a little bit of award news. We'll start off with the one I know Sean's a big fan of, Chappaquiddick, whatever. I can't remember.
Yes. No, were you guys aware of Chappaquiddick?
It involves the Kennedys, it appears.
Yeah.
Well, you weren't aware of it before the trailer? Or?
No.
I was aware of what was going on in the trailer. I just didn't know it had anything to do with that word I've never heard before now.
I don't know what happened. I don't claim to know what happened. What the point of it is, though, is that this movie, just on a technical level, looks stupid. It looks really dumb. Like the makeup is bad, the lighting is bad, the direction is bad. I've got no problem with the content. If you want to say that Ted Kennedy murdered this girl, he possibly did. I mean, there's a chance that he just did murder this woman. Straight up. I'm not going to argue with that. It's not a political thing. I just think this looks terrible. It looks god-awful. And Jason Clarke, what's he thinking? I mean, he's got to have better options out there. Did Terminator hurt him that bad?
Well, if done right, this probably could be a really good movie.
Maybe. Ed Helms. How stupid did Ed Helms look in this trailer?
Well, he looked like Ed Helms, which is the problem.
Yeah, and not sounding like Ed Helms either, sounding like a campaign strategist for the Kennedys.
Those awful Boston accents. Mm-hmm. Terrible.
Yeah, like Ed Helms, Jason Sudeikis, those, like, I like them, but they really stand out. They don't disappear like Steve Carell can, So they have a hard time disappearing in roles like this.
I'm all for movies like this existing where we're used to seeing like a championed film about the backstory of somebody that's in the political theater, something that we didn't know, be it good or bad. But I don't see a lot of stuff involving like the wealthy liberal left, and thus to see something about Ted Kennedy. What I know about him on the side is the illness that he had in recent years. Okay, that garnered a lot of sympathy votes for him. That would have been a great time to say, "Hey, do you remember that time in 1969 when none of you were born, when he had somebody die on him in his care?"
Well, I mean, one of the reasons many people say he was never elected president was because of Chappaquiddick. Because if he'd really put a real run together, everybody would have gone, "Well, remember Chappaquiddick?" And then they would have actually looked at it. The way he kept people from looking at it was not actually putting on a real run for the presidency. That's hence we got Carter in '76.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So I don't see how you could turn this around, but it is only a trailer. But
I mean, you could make a great movie out of this. I'm sure there could be a great movie made of Chappaquiddick. I'm not opposed to this for political reasons, I swear. I just think it looks awful.
Well, that was the thing. I saw your tweet on it, or I guess it was on Facebook first, where you said, "I don't normally comment on these before the podcast, but this looks horrible." I didn't turn it. I literally watched it today, so it was like 5 days ago you posted that, and I was like, "Wow, this isn't an Adam Sandler movie." Okay, this is a political. And then I was like, I kind of see it. I'd like to see it be good, but I don't. It doesn't. I don't know how you could turn that around with what they have so far. And then Red Sparrow.
Yeah, this doesn't look terrible, but it looks so familiar that I don't care. And Jennifer Lawrence is amazing, but I don't know what drives anybody to make this movie again. We've got this movie a few times, haven't we?
Well, it sure seems that way. I mean, Atomic Blonde to an extent, and
the backstory of
Black Widow. This has really got I was thinking of this when I was watching the trailer. Man, this has really got a pain Scarlett Johansson, or all of the people that watched Wonder Woman come and go and be so successful when Black Widow was in Marvel films in 2010 and still doesn't have her own film. And then you've got the backstory of Black Widow being played by a completely different actress. The film itself, this is a better trailer than the first one. I'll give it that. And Joel Edgerton being in there appears to be a deeper dynamic.
That did improve it for me seeing him.
Yeah.
But this is also directed by Francis Lawrence, and he's good. I don't know.
I mean, it's Scarlett Johansson's had Lucy and stuff, so she's had her movies with success that are kind of like this. So to me, it's more of a Jennifer Lawrence trying to get a hit on her hands more than anything else, more than her art movie that she did late, Mother. So she'll rotate back and forth like Matt Damon and Ben Affleck do, and we'll be fine. Award stuff, Sean.
Well, yeah. The Iowa Film Critics announced their awards today, and it was a near sweep in all the major categories for Lady Bird. Lady Bird won Best Picture, Best Director for Greta Gerwig, Best Actress for Saoirse Ronan, and Best Supporting Actress for Laurie Metcalf. All of that from the Iowa Film Critics today, of which I'm a member of the Iowa Critics, a voting member, and very proud to announce that. Willem Dafoe, the only outlier because Tracy Letts wasn't nominated. But I forgot who won Best Actor now. I think it was Gary Oldman, although I didn't vote for him.
Who'd you vote for?
I voted for James Franco before I went to Twitter. That's another story. Stupid Twitter.
Oh. I forgot about that, yeah.
But yeah, that's the Iowa Film Critics. I'm going to have a whole list of that out tomorrow in an article that'll be on our Facebook page if you want to check that out. Then, of course, obviously the Golden Globes might be a little bit bigger than the Iowa Film Critics. I don't know. 3 Billboards Outside Ebbing, Missouri became a front runner, as many people say, although I think the Golden Globes are much more unpredictable than the Oscars. The Oscars, I still say that Dunkirk is going to stand out there, and Get Out will be there, and Lady Bird will be there as well. And 3 Billboards is going to be there, but I don't think it's necessarily going to be a front runner. I think this was just one of those outlying moments where the Golden Globes does what the Golden Globes does. They're unpredictable.
And I think if you look at between the two categories of movies, which the Oscars doesn't do, the comedy musical category is kind of better than the drama this year.
Kind of.
So I think Lady Bird easily beats 3 Billboards, and then I don't know. I guess it doesn't really matter. It's just art in competition, which is the silliest thing in the world, but we still talk about it.
Did you watch the Golden Globes?
No, I didn't know that they'd been on.
I just watched the highlights.
I might have live tweeted. I don't know.
Some movie show we are. Jeez.
I don't know. I don't know. Like the very first year we did this, I think you were on the show at that point and somebody had tweeted, "Hope Bob Zero doesn't do a political podcast because he'll be live tweeting everything." So I immediately blocked that person. And but yeah, so I don't know. It just seems like every year we do it a little bit less, which is fine with me. But everybody wore black. Seth Meyers was funny-ish.
Oprah was cool.
Oprah. There was a lot of neat moments. Natalie Portman doing the best director.
Natalie Portman last night was announcing the nominees for best director, and she said, and instead of saying the nominees and the nominees for best director, she added the word male, the male nominees, because they were all 5 men.
Aha.
Greta Gerwig wasn't nominated, you see.
Oh.
Or was Dee Reese for Mudbound, or Patty Jenkins for Wonder Woman. None of them got nominated.
Now, were they broken up into 2 different categories?
No, it was one category.
Oh, really? That's
Yeah.
stupid. How the hell was Greta Gerwig not nominated?
Great question.
Do you happen to
It
know the
went
5
to-
nominees off the top of your head?
Guillermo del Toro won, and then obviously Christopher Nolan, Martin McDonagh. I can't remember the other. I think it might have been Sean Baker.
Okay.
Florida Project.
Yeah, no.
Luca Guadagnino for Call Me by Your Name. They're a very deserving group of nominees, but I would definitely argue for Greta Gerwig to be in that group.
I'd have pulled Dunkirk out because I thought Dunkirk was a letdown.
I don't understand how it comes back like this.
But it's him. It's all it is.
Yeah, but he hasn't won
There's
Oscars.
a lot of love for Dunkirk. Critics love Dunkirk. Thursday night, the Critics' Choice Awards. I've got a feeling Dunkirk's going to win. I do. I know my group. My group is a little bit older than me. Not that I'm not saying that to blast my group. I love my group. I'm going to be live tweeting along with them on Thursday night.
We're
for the
blasting
Critics'
old
Choice,
people is what we're doing, not the critics.
but the fact is that we're older. The older audience did love Dunkirk a lot.
Yeah, and to be honest, you're talking about how all these movies are kind of close. There's not a whole lot of standouts. They're all kind of equally as good. Dunkirk is a different type of movie than all these other movies, so I guess it does kind of. Everybody's going to split votes between the other movies, and that sucks. Oh, I hate you, Christopher Nolan. Were there any other award things you wanted to talk about before we got into the show?
Just Thursday night, CW Network, the Critics' Choice Awards, hosted by Olivia Munn. I'm a voting member of the Broadcast Film Critics and Television Critics, so you might see my name somewhere.
Will you be there?
No. No, I'll be on my couch, probably live tweeting if I'm not at a movie. I might have to see Paddington.
Yes. I can't wait for that movie to come out. All right, let's get on with the show. We'll start here, which is not where we normally start.
Put your top 5. Who's your top 5?
Might as well just do our top 5 movies that we're looking forward to in 2018. I will start with Instagram, where Good Steve, he has number 5, X-Men Dark Phoenix. Number 4, Mission Impossible 6. 3, Pacific Rim Uprising. Really enjoyed the first one, probably more than I should have. 2, a tie between Ant-Man, Black Panther, and Spider-Man animated movie. Number 1, of course, Infinity War. And he said, "That's just a nerd's list, right?" I'm like, yep. And Josh just commented.
Well, that has been sitting in the queue for like 6 hours, and I finally just hit send.
That's
Whoops.
okay. It just popped up on my phone as a notification. Our Patreon supporter, Charlie Messing, a little different list than you asked for. These are the top 5 movies I would normally look forward to, but think they are going to disappoint. Tomb Raider, Solo, Jurassic World, Venom, and X-Men. Jason from New Mexico said, "I'm most looking forward to Infinity War, and well, all the Marvel movies, but I'm going to try to dig a little deeper and pick some that I have high hopes for. The only one off the top of my head is Isle of the Dogs." Cousin Jeff, he had Avengers Infinity War, Solo, though no one asked for it, Black Panther, Strangers 2, Deadpool 2. Another Patreon supporter, Christina, had, hi guys, here's my list. Black Panther, because watching a movie made up largely with people of color that doesn't involve slavery, prostitution, and drugs, or a bank heist is as exciting as having a black president. 2, Ready Player One. 3, A Wrinkle in Time. 4, Annihilation. 5, Deadpool 2. Beth has A Wrinkle in Time, Solo, A Star Wars Story, Ocean's 8, A Quiet Place, Life of the Party, and then she said, update, Annihilation since I saw the trailer today. So I will remove Solo from that list and add
She's forced to see it anyways.
My list, in no particular order, are Strangers 2, not because it looks good, but because I really look forward to doing that podcast. Deadpool 2, A24, a couple movies that I thought looked neat just by looking at the picture, not any trailers. Slice and A Prayer Before Dawn, Annihilation, and then A Quiet Place. Josh?
Yeah, the one that I just put up there. I can't figure out whether God Particle, which is the supposed third Cloverfield-based film, or The Predator is, because those projects have been like in the ether for a while, and we still haven't seen a trailer for Predator, still haven't seen a full trailer for God Particle. I can't differentiate between the two, but if a gun was in my head, I would say the Predator, because Shane Black is writing and directing it. 4 is Solo. 3, The Incredibles 2. 2, Annihilation, and number 1 is Avengers Infinity War. And a bunch of honorable mentions. I found a nice huge list, and then I was like, oh yeah, I am excited for Rampage. I'm gonna have to admit it.
John?
You didn't have to admit it.
Yeah.
I was thinking about, obviously I'm not going to hold myself above anybody and say I'm not looking for Infinity War or Solo or that kind of stuff, Black Panther, all that stuff I'm definitely looking forward to, but I decided to look at to do my list looking at directors that I'm looking forward to. So Outlaw King, David Mackenzie from Hell or High Water. We'll be back with Chris Pine doing the story of Robert the Bruce. If Beale Street Could Talk is Barry Jenkins following up Moonlight with an adaptation of a James Baldwin novel, which I think that sounds pretty awesome. A Wrinkle in Time, because of Oprah's speech. Got me really excited about that. Ava DuVernay also is a great director. Hold the Dark is Jeremy Saulnier's next movie, which it's got Alexander Skarsgård and Riley Keough, and it's got wolves. I can't imagine what he's going to do with wolves. That's going to be awesome. And I put The Predator on my list because Shane Black's an awesome director, and I have no idea what they're doing with that movie. I mean, I was reading IMDb today, and the information is so conflicting. It's IMDb called it a remake of Predator, but how can a remake of Predator have Jacob Tremblay in the cast?
Yeah, it's not a remake, and it's like somebody posted that it was a reboot or a remake at some point, and then whoever was doing the official synopses that day said, well, shit, I don't know. I don't have one. So they just grabbed one from a website. Shane Black has been quoted as saying this is not a reboot or a remake. It's a continuation of the stories that you'll know when it takes place when you see it. Okay, great.
Olivia Munn is going to be awesome in it. I have a good feeling.
I'll let you hold on to that because she's hosting the Critics' Choice Awards. But I'm
Not a fan?
No.
Oh, I like her.
Fake geek. Making fun of costumers as they go about conventions when she used to be on.
No.
When she was with Chris Hardwick hosting whatever, the Attack of the Show or whatever it was.
Right.
She took great delight in wearing the baseball shirt with Star Wars on it that looked brand spanking new from Hot Topic. And then she would go around yelling at people on the floor and saying, she can't fit into that. It's like, okay, fuck you. I mean, seriously, Olivia Munn has always rubbed me the wrong way because of that. She wants to be seen as geek goddess and even got herself into an X-Men movie. And I think she's full of shit. That's just me. She can tweet right at me. I'll handle it. I'll ask her why she did it. She isn't going to, but...
I'm not even going to see this. She's a comedian. They can do whatever they want.
Oh, she is?
Yeah.
You couldn't pass it by me.
I did want to note A Quiet Place is written by some guys from Davenport. So that's...
No kidding. Huh.
My brother hates them. He said they're rich white kids and that they've just had equipment their whole life. I believe they're known as the Blue Box Boys. I don't know.
Yeah. I know those guys.
All the money in the world. Show's finally starting. We're only, half an hour?
You can delete the entire Olivia Munn thing for time.
I will if you want me to. Otherwise, it stays in.
No, it can stay. I'm just saying for time.
The title of the podcast, Josh Hates Olivia Munn.
Cool with me.
Bob hates Christopher Nolan.
Me too.
Let's see. Who do I hate? I did not see... I don't hate All the Money in the World. I've just been sick and I have not seen it. It's the movie that's just eluded me. So, Josh,
I have one of those every week. So the shoe's finally on the other foot, so to speak. It's Ridley Scott, and so I needed to take the time to get to the theater specifically and use the last free time in my vacation to go see a Ridley Scott movie. We've seen the trailer. It's a story of J. Paul Getty III's abduction in the 1970s and his mother's subsequent attempt to retrieve him, although she doesn't have the money that her former father-in-law does. We get a little bit of backstory in this movie about how she came to be a single mother with 4 children and where her husband, the J. Paul Getty II, how he went from being her husband to not her husband. And as opposed to being a standard film that talks about a kidnapping, a ransom, and some sort of elite forces trip through the backwoods of Italy, if you will, to try and find this rich white person. What this is a film that investigates the pathos behind everyone involved. And this is the kind of thing that Ridley Scott does so well when he really wants to. This is like... I think that this is his second best film, to be honest. And you know how big of a fan I am of his. And he's had a lot of missteps. And he said a lot of stupid shit in the past 3 weeks. Like a lot. So much where I kind of want to just put my head down and not praise him anymore. But this film has no fat on it. It runs over 2 hours, but... as a true story as well, you're still invested in it, in that he creates scenes that you think are going to go one way, and they are a different scene that has no relation to the plot directly, but it matters what the characters do in those scenes. So it gives you a more in-depth idea of who J. Paul Getty, the man, was. He was an awful man. As he states in the film, he didn't write How to Get Rich. He said, no. The book was titled How to Be Rich. Anyone can get rich, but to be rich, it takes somebody that's not a dumbass. And I'm like, okay, interesting. So this is how this goes. He is such an abhorrent person that I got angry at this film and thought about, like, man, do I really need to watch the rest of this? Because that's how mad this movie makes you. He's got flesh and blood that he's so intent on bestowing gifts upon, and the thought of a bloodline going on, but he isn't paying the ransom because, well, I've got a lot of grandchildren. What happens if I pay the ransom to every one of them? Then I'm going to be broke. The man's logic is, it's so ridiculous, but I've seen it in so many people that weren't as wealthy as the richest man that ever lived at the time that he was alive. He would rather he'd rather obtain or procure a painting than he would spend time with his family. At the time that we see the meeting between him and his son's family, he had never met his wife, or his son's wife, or his grandchildren before, but he treats them as if has been in their family for so long. What this does is paint a picture of the 1%. Now, let's be fair, not everyone in the 1% is an abhorrent human being. I don't think that's possible, but I do think that to be that wealthy and to amass such a fortune that you can make decisions like he does, there's a pathos involved in that this film illustrates so well. And I got to think to myself, this person is running our country right now. It's not a lie, though. I mean, this is exactly what Donald Trump is in this movie. It's just set in 1972, 1973. And it made me very sad for the state of affairs in this world, what humans can do to each other, but specifically what humans can do to each other when it involves finances. The life of a poor teenager was up in the air for months on end when it could have been over like that. As I stated, this is Ridley Scott's second best movie because of the way that he directs it, not so obviously. If I were to re-rank my list, I would definitely put it in the top 5, if not the top 3 of the year. I still think The Disaster Artist is my favorite movie of last year, but I wish this would be getting more attention because, like I've heard about The Post, this has so much relevance to our current times. And I understand why Ridley Scott might think of making it as somebody that has spent a lot of time in America but has a distance from America. He's a man of the world, despite how senile he may seemingly be becoming. It's an incredibly involving film with great performances. Michelle Williams would be very deserving of an award should she get it. Mark Wahlberg, I can see why he's drawn to this role. You can see a lot of Mark Wahlberg in The Departed in this role, and that's his best work. Christopher Plummer is seamlessly integrated into this movie. At not one point do you think to yourself, oh, there's a digital scene, there's a digital scene. No, this has been meticulously reshot in certain spots, and that's a massive achievement. Christopher Plummer is incredible in it, and so is Charlie Plummer. I do not know if he's the grandson of Christopher Plummer, but he plays young J. Paul Getty III, and he's really incredible and vulnerable in the role that he's in. Develops a relationship with one of his captors that you wouldn't expect. I highly recommend that everyone see this. It appears to be doing okay at the box office, but it's one of those films like The Post that I think is very relevant.
Excellent. Then there's Insidious, The Last Key.
You're going to enjoy this one too, Josh, because Bob and I are not going to agree at all.
Oh, I'll just grab my popcorn, pardon me.
It's the best movie so far of 2018.
Oh, okay.
It's also the worst.
There's only one, you see.
It's the only one I've seen.
The Insidious, The Last Key, stars Lynn Shay in the role that she's played throughout the Insidious franchise. We're going back to her backstory this time in a place called Five Keys, New Mexico. And she's going back there because she's been called back there by this unstable guy who claims he has a ghost in the house. She obviously remembers that there were ghosts in that house from her childhood. There's a lot of stuff at play in terms of her backstory. She's got a violent father and a mother who died in unusual circumstances. And we see all of that in the film and what happened. And it is the opening scene is fantastic. It's a really well-directed series of scenes to open this movie that set up her backstory. I happen to like these characters a lot from these movies. There's the big guy and the little guy, Lee Whannell and his partner. I enjoy those guys. A lot of people don't. As I've been reading about him lately, a lot of people really don't like them. I think they're funny. I think that's just the thing about the Insidious movies that I've really come to like is that they create characters first and then bring the scares, and that's what Lee Wanell did in the Saw movies too. Is that or not in the Saw movies? That's what he does in his writing in these movies, and what he did in The Conjuring is that he focuses on the characters first, and then he'll do the scares around it. The scares come next, but he wants you to sympathize with the characters. He wants you to care about these characters, and I like that. So many movies like Insidious don't bother to create a character that you like. Pretty Girl 1, Boyfriend 1, Friend 1, Friend 2, and cannon fodder. Everybody dies in a particular order, and you don't care who they are. This movie, everybody here is a person who first, and then they're the subject of scares. And I've always liked that about the Insidious movies, is that even with Patrick Wilson and Rose Byrne. They were characters first, and then the scares came in around them. And Lin Shaye, I think, is a wonderful lead for a movie. She's so unusual to be leading a movie. A 74-year-old woman is at the top of the box office this week, and that's pretty cool. And I like the way she plays Elise. I like her performance. She's very sympathetic. I think she holds the screen well. And I enjoyed her backstory a lot. And the scares are really inventive. Once they give you these characters that you like, they don't spend a lot of time on it, but I mean, it's enough that you care about these characters. And then the scares come in, and the scares are really good, and the really well developed, deep backstory that they give this. I like this movie a lot.
I made the mistake of discussing this with Sean beforehand. Cut the legs out from every argument. I'll start where I agree. The opening backstory, phenomenal. Great start to the movie. The scares are creative, and they're still jump scares, but they never felt too cheap. And he kind of felt like he was messing with you sometimes, to the point where you didn't know what he was going to do. So I thought that was good too. And the characters do come first, and you do feel sympathy for them, so it makes it that much more effective when something does happen. All that is very true. I just thought the acting was atrocious, like awful, like almost walk out of the movie bad. The star is the character actor in the other movies, and now she's leading it, and she just has a hard time delivering. I guess I disagree that she held this.
I think it helps though if you're connected to the other three movies, though.
Which I have seen, and I like them all. I just forgot. I know they're good. But we just see so many movies, and those are kind of one and done for me. Honestly, they kind of came back, but I bring a lot of those other three because I really liked the first three Insidious movies, so I brought a lot of that to this as well. And I think I brought a lot of the reputation to this as well, making it a higher bar. Maybe I'm making the bar too high for it too. That could be what it is, because I do think the Insidious movies, for the most part, are pretty creative, effective horror movies, especially as of late, because you don't have a whole lot of those. The Conjuring and this, and one or two here and there.
I think especially I like this movie a lot because I'm comparing it to so many things like the Bye Bye Man or any other teenage girl boy movies. I just think I compare them to all those movies that I have to see. I see 10 of those every year with a dozen teenage characters who die in the perfect order, and you don't care who they are. So seeing a movie like Insidious where they care about the characters and that comes first, that stands out for me and makes this movie better. I'm not saying this is the greatest franchise. This doesn't rank up there with like the Friday the 13th and Friday the 13th. Texas Chainsaw Massacre or Nightmare on Elm Street, not Friday the 13th. Fuck Friday the 13th.
I will say, as a series, for the most part, I would put it ahead of a lot of those. Friday the 13th fell off. Nightmare on Elm Street fell off. Texas Chainsaw Massacre fell off. I think there's a new one out now that didn't even go to the theaters, which is nice to see. But I just everything you said is true, except for I didn't think the acting was good at all. I thought the girls that came in towards them were pretty good. But really the star and her brother, and I just thought there's some of the delivery was just like cringeworthy. I was thinking like Tommy Wiseau. It was that. And then let me also say, I saw this at 10:20 at night, so that could have been I was tired. There's a lot of things that can go into these movies, but everything else Sean said is true, and that does matter in a horror movie. I mean, if you're going to be scared, this movie will scare you. So there's that. I guess the only other complaint would be that there is something that's kind of telegraphed to the point where early on you're like, this is going to come back and she's going to save the day. And then that does. But other than that, which isn't really a complaint because there's really no reason why anybody shouldn't notice that. But it is what it is. Listen to Sean, don't listen to me. It's fine. I don't care that much. You ever going to see this movie, Josh?
It's unlikely, but I can say that, because I would need to go back and revisit that. I've seen the first two Insidious movies, and they are quality. I mean, the first one got me with a jump scare that I wasn't expecting, that kind of thing. It's above... It's exactly what you guys said. It's of a certain quality. But I never saw the third one because I could see where this was going. And then you've got a fourth movie released in January, and it makes my expectations lower for it. And then once I see Lee Wennell's name as part of the cast, you'd have to pay me. Well, I suppose Movie Pass.
Yeah. Paid for by the Patreon supporters. They did.
Oh man, I should go see Insidious: The Last Key.
Yeah, I mean, there's this something I do with suitcases that's just pretty neat.
Yeah,
and they just jump scares in general are kind of cheap, but I guess they're cheap, but they earn it. I mean, so I guess it's not cheap.
It's weird. Like I was watching this what you were just talking about there with the suitcases. I find out I'm a big fan of old suitcases. I really am. Like they're just cool. Like they had cool designs back in the day.
Yeah.
Of course, what was inside these is horrifying. But I mean, nevertheless.
And they do take neat twists and turns in this movie. Like all of a sudden, it turns into something other than a ghost story, and then you're like, okay, and then it turns back to a ghost story. It just kind of goes. So I mean, maybe I'm talking myself into it, but I mean, the acting is just awful. It really is. But yeah, I mean, it does have an audience that would enjoy this. So if I'm speaking for them, they will like this movie. So
I'd be interested to hear what you think of the acting in this compared to the acting in our classic.
It's a good question.
Ladies and gentlemen, this is the main event for the linear, legitimate, and universally recognized, undisputed classic.
Burnt Offerings.
This was terrible.
I had so many different, I don't know, I kept running how we're going to do this on the show through my head. Like, part of me was like, I'm just going to play like an SJW and be like, the man who's doing all these horrible things, and then at the end it turns out it's the woman ghost's fault. None of it was real. Because that is there. Is it not?
That is a reading of this movie.
I'm going to kill Sean here in a second. I apologize.
That is a reading of this movie, yes. Burnt Offerings, 1970. What was it? 76. With Oliver Reed, Karen Black, and Betty Davis. One of her last roles, I think. This is a haunted house movie. This couple decides to rent this gigantic house in the country for the summer. From this very weird family. They're a weird family led by Burgess Meredith, of all people.
Highlight of the movie for me.
Playing a little Southern dandy, isn't he?
Played it well.
He's got a strange resume if you really dig into it, but he's really weird and off-putting. But then he and his sister are living there with their mother, and they leave. And they leave their mother there, or they claim to leave their mother there. Was she there? I don't know. Watch the movie. And I thought this would be a good classic because, I mean, it's got Betty Davis, and I know Karen Black is like some kind of horror legend to some people. I don't know what her appeal is. I've really never investigated her very much. I didn't think she was very good in this movie. But I don't think this movie is very good.
Yeah, it's
I had no idea where it was going, but it wasn't going anywhere.
Right. I guess if you're gonna say something nice about it, is I don't know where it was going, and then
What does the title mean? What does that title have to do with anything in this movie? Nothing burns. There's nothing burnt.
nor is anything offered up.
Really? Yeah, nothing is particularly offered. Yeah. What the hell?
But no, I mean, I'm not kidding when I say everything. What is Oliver Reed?
Oliver Reed, yeah.
Yeah.
Everything he does is just horrific in this movie. And then it turns out it's not his fault. It's the ghost. And Karen Black's kind of the ghost, so it's all her fault. And I tried to just kind of watch for what it was. So I guess I didn't come away hating it, but I definitely didn't like it. And I'm not it's going to go away forever. But
was the acting better? The acting
it's
was
hard to
there.
say.
It was certainly there. They act the hell out of this movie. I don't know if they act it well, but they act the hell out of it.
Yeah, the fact that it's 76, I can't really give it an excuse. And if it was 60s or 50s, then okay, it was a different time. But in the 70s, they were starting to actually really be good and kind of similar to what we're doing today. So yeah, the acting is a little over the top and a little more than over the top, I guess, is a better.
Yeah, Oliver Reed is chewing on the scenery all over the place. The kid was terrible. Oh man, I couldn't stand that kid.
And he wasn't like young enough to have an excuse to be terrible either. He was, and just the decision making is none of it is logical, which I guess they try to cover with the house being possessed. But at the same time, it's like you're the possessed or you're not. Make up your mind. Because she does go back and forth, and they don't really give her a good enough reason to.
And nothing happens. Like, just nothing will happen for, everything is filmed in this way that's supposed to be sinister, and nothing is happening. She keeps delivering the food to the room and leaving the food for the mother, and then the food will still be there the next day, and that goes on for several minutes, and then suddenly the food is gone, but then you see her eat the food, and she doesn't know she ate the food. How about somebody who's eating fucking food?
Well, that's my point. The only thing that happens is the shit Oliver Reed is doing. Or the aunt, who is just an old crazy lady. So you can kind of, like, if I were making this movie, I'd kind of do the Babadook thing where he's getting old and senile and he's really the problem. And then that's the twist at the end is that there's no ghost, it's him. And that would have been a far better movie than what this was.
Are either of you familiar with the British show Dark Shadows? I'm sure you've at least heard of it.
Just the remake.
Just the remake by Tim Burton. Well, I know of it, that it's a very weird, you can't really call it horror. It's more of like a weird, strange, dark designs and lots of production value going on. But in terms of story, it's like, well, what do you take from it? What do you take from it? And the director, Dan Curtis, since I didn't watch this movie, so I'm trying to add something to the conversation by doing a little research. He was apparently a primary producer and occasional director on that show, Dark Shadows, and mostly a TV director based on his body of work. What that tells me is that he can't direct a feature-length film very well, and you were alluding to that when you were talking about the direction and the pace of the film or whatnot. Okay, and then you've got Dark Shadows, which is so abstract that the people that like it, it's like, well, why do you like it? Because it's weird. Well, all right. Then I'm seeing all of that in what you're saying.
Certainly plenty of weird for the sake of weird. Like Oliver Reed keeps having these flashes to a guy driving a hearse. And that guy is kind of creepy looking. But he looks a lot like Johnny Depp in Dark Shadows, honestly.
Yeah, and he doesn't really serve a purpose.
No, none whatsoever.
And I mean, I did say kind of in our group chat that we should have done this when Mother came out. That was kind of, there's a weird for the sake of weird thing there. When I look up Karen Black on Instagram just to kind of see what she is known for, this is a third movie on her list. So this must be the number one. It's 5 Easy Pieces.
And Night of the Locusts?
House of a Thousand Corpses. Then this. So, and then maybe Night. I don't remember what the fourth one was because they always have 4 movies up. But this must have been her biggest horror movie.
Night of the Locusts, I think that's what it's called, is a movie that she people call her. People were calling her the Scream Queen for that one. I guess she screams a lot in that one, and she was competing like with Jamie Lee Curtis and people like that to be the Scream Queen of horror in the 70s. And I guess that movie was the one that kind of put her in that category. But I've never seen it. It's always been that movie that I've kind of almost watched and never watched.
Yeah, and I know what she looks like, or what she looked like when she was older. So I kept trying to do that comparison.
I forgot she was in House of 1,000 Corpses. But I try and forget that movie as much as possible.
Me too.
I need to rewatch it. Bring it back. I'm sure I'll make another movie sometime. Anything else on Burnt Offerings?
I'm sorry. I'm sorry. We did nothing to promote the fact that we were watching it this week and really, I don't know why I expected anybody to actually have heard of it. I just needed I looked up demon possession movies on Google, and that popped up, and I saw the cast, and I'm like, okay, that cast, demon possession movie we haven't done before.
You were on the right road. I mean,
yeah.
The pedigree involved is something else, and I would have promoted it had I watched it. I would have put it on Instagram saying now watching our classic. But
Well, yeah, last week was just a weird episode because it was a year review. I forgot to totally how we normally end the show. I just ended it. So that's why that happened. Anything else on Burnt Offerings? I guess I'd say time hasn't been kind to it.
No.
So if it was good in '76, it's not what it was.
nothing was offered, nothing was burnt.
All right, nothing came out in 1988. So.
Yeah, Cop, the one that we thought about, and I looked for it because I saw that it was a novel written by James Ellroy of L.A. Confidential and Black Dahlia. That's very interesting. Even though it stars James Woods, it's got a triumvirate of Jameses involved in the writing, direction, and lead of the film. But its U.S. release date is March 11th. I didn't see that on my source website, so I'm going to add that and see if that I'll at least bring it up in March when it does arrive.
Actually, we agreed to ban James Woods
from the podcast.
Yeah, I can handle that too.
So we did a streaming challenge. Where do we start with this?
Great question.
Do we start with boredom, or do we start with
Why
gross?
did you pick what you picked? I looked at your movie, Josh, and I'm like, there is no possibility I would sit through this.
Well, two reasons. I'll just go ahead and go with it. Is that okay?
Please, go.
All right. I watched The Confirmation. It was available on Netflix, and it had been in my queue for some time. The leads are Clive Owen and Jaden Lieberher. I'm on board. I mean, I love Clive Owen for some reason. I still am holding on to this Ember from 2007, which he was going to be Bond, and then he ended up not being Bond. And then a little bit later, he's in Children of Men, and I love that. And really, that's
it was gone.
it. He's in a lot of direct-to-video stuff. That's not entirely true. I'll Sleep When I'm Dead is an English film. Jonathan Rhys-Meyers played his brother, and there's a lot of brutal gang-type stuff in that one, and I thought it was really well made. Low-key, low-budget, Clive Owen just brooding throughout the whole thing. I really dug that. And then I watched this. Jaden Lieberher of St. Vincent, young actor on the level of Ty Sheridan, Jacob Tremblay, really fantastic young actor. I'm like, what can go wrong? I mean, The Confirmation, this is one of those titles that has nothing to do with the movie again. They have mentioned the fact that Lieberher's character may be at some point confirmed. It's clear that he's a Catholic. He's being raised Catholic by his mother. His stepfather is Clive Owen. Clive Owen is a drunkard. He has a hard time holding on to anything that he's got. And so the caveat of seeing his son is that he must stay off the booze. And this son is going through the odd dual nature of going through puberty as well as going through Catholicism, which those that have been in the Catholic faith, I suppose you've got a different story than me to tell. I would imagine that would be difficult if you've got to confess all of your puberty sins to a priest every week. That sounds like it sucks. So, Bob?
I went one time.
Okay. but so there's the setup for your film, and you think that there's going to be a confirmation involved. No, what it is, Maria Bello plays the mother. She goes away for a weekend of what's supposed to be a funny scene in which she's going to a Catholic church camp for couples in which they learn to have better sex through Jesus. That's okay. So that's supposed to be funny, right?
I've done that before.
Aha.
Went to the class. Not have better.
So maybe that's the way the film is going to go. No? Okay. So in the first 5 minutes, Jaden Lieberher is in his father's truck. His father has gone into a tavern to look for something. You're like, is he already drinking? You're not sure. Maybe that's where the film is going to go. When he comes out, he's gone in to look for his father, even though he's been explicitly told to stay in the truck. When he comes out, his tools are gone, these very specialty tools. Maybe that's what the movie's going to be about. Who cares, okay? Really what the movie is those two going around this town in Washington State, in the cities of Kent and Renton, in this very working class neighborhood trying to find lost tools. And along the way, maybe they find each other. Oh, God. This is one of the most droll, uninspiring, underacted, underdirected, least interesting films that I have ever seen. Just on the leads alone, the director and writer, Bob Nelson is his name, whoever the hell that is, has wasted 2 hours of my time. And I was on vacation watching this film in a hot tub. How can you possibly be wasting my time in a hot tub when I've got a tub of ice cream on the left and bubbles in my face? That is how extraordinarily boring this film is. You managed to make those things crappy. So for that, I will never forgive you, Bob Nelson. And I should give up on Clive Owen now, because at this point, a decade out from a movie that was, I figured
you're the
probably
last one
do
to
that.
give up on.
I'm the last one. Clive Owen, you've lost your last big fan.
Even
Okay,
Clive Owen gave up last year or so.
Maybe Clive Owen is the dad in this movie. Okay, in all seriousness, like he's like, man, my career has sucked. In order to get another movie, I'm going to have to work on it in order to get a leading role again, and instead he ends up doing this shit. It's one of the worst movies I've seen in a long time. You have Netflix, I'm sure, if you're listening to this. If you see that come up, there are no confirmations involved, and you'll kick yourself for having seen it.
I wish we had like a listener who did animation and then could animate like Josh in a hot tub eating ice cream watching this movie. And
It's
then
not hard to picture. I'm a good-looking man.
Taking what he just said and play that over the top of it. That would be amazing.
And watch my face go from to like pure hatred, and
then take a bite of ice cream and it comes back, and then it goes back away.
And then throw my spoon back in the container because I'm mad at the movie. No, this ice cream never lasts that long with me. Anyways.
Especially in a hot tub.
Well, no, it's off to the side, and I eat it fast. That's the joke.
I guess we'll close with. I'll call it passion. I don't know. I'm gonna go next. It's really a throwaway movie. I went and saw Goon 2, Last of the Enforcers, and it's kind of Rocky 2 meets Grown Ups, I guess. In that he doesn't want to fight anymore, and you got a bunch of funny people making a movie who were probably funnier on set than they were in the film. It's an okay movie, but it's just Goon caught me off guard, and I actually kind of liked that original movie. And this one is fine. It's somewhat fun. Basically, Sean William Scott's character, right off the bat in the movie, gets his ass kicked by a cheap shot in a hockey brawl, and then his career ends. He ends up taking a temp job at an insurance company, working in a basement, kind of like Milton from The Office Space. And his wife's pregnant. Life's just not being kind to him. He just seems dumber in this movie than he did in the first one. And to the point where it's just kind of bad Sean William Scott acting. And then he happens to see Liev Schreiber's character at a hockey boxing fight. I don't know. They had these where they don't play hockey, but they're on skates and they just fight each other. I don't know if this thing exists or not, but it's
sounds amazing.
It was kind of funny, but he goes and watches that, and
like hockey bum fights.
Ooh.
At one point in the movie, there's like a battle royal where there's like 6 guys on the ice, and at that point, Sean William Scott's character decides to join the league, and it ends up just being the 2 of them left. But Lee Schreiber's so beat up that he just falls, and then Sean William helps him skate off the ice, and they never actually fight. The team that Sean William Scott was on, I don't remember character names. I apologize. So I'm just going to keep saying the actors' names. They actually, the owner of that team is the father of the guy who beat Sean William Scott's ass in the fight early on, and he actually trades for his son. And they don't start winning even with him, so they bring Sean William Scott back, and he refuses to fight now because his wife's pregnant, doesn't want to fight anymore, and he got a bad injury, and eventually he comes to the point where he does have to fight. They trade him back to the other team, and it ends up being it's just kind of a throwaway movie that I didn't see in a theater. I believe it was straight to video, and it's okay, but it's not the first one.
Yeah, there's a bit of a movement in hockey there are those that would completely eliminate fighting altogether because of known effects of repeated hits in the head and the goons not having the quote unquote goons that have been on teams for a long time having very disproportionately awful lives after their playing careers end. And then, of course, there are those like Don Cherry involved in hockey who would hold on to the fighting for all time because that's pure hockey. And good God, it's like I can't say it because then you get political. But I mean, it is like a right wing, left wing debate, and progressive people wanting to change the sport a little and make the sport move forward with less violence, and those that would rather see it sticking in the olden days in which territory and puck possession and I've talked way too much. I'm feeling sick.
Well, it's just like the baseball thing where if you get hit by a pitch, now you're going to throw it there.
Sure,
it's
exactly what it is.
Because all you're doing is you're literally stopping the game to fight.
Yeah,
you're not getting rid of the violence. It's a violent sport. You can't get rid of it, but you can get rid of the part where you stop and start fighting.
Yeah, I never understood that part of hockey. It never made sense to me that they could just do that.
I'm going to assault you. No, you're going to assault me.
And this is like minor league hockey too, so it's not even. In a way, it's kind of about that, about not wanting to fight anymore. But it's just when you watch the credits, the outtakes and stuff. It's so funny. It was like it probably was the most hilarious set in the world, but they were having so much fun on set that they forgot to put in the movie. And that's why I say Grown Ups. I can't imagine. Grown Ups had to be the most fun set to be on with all those guys. And then you watch the movie and you're like, oh my God, there's not a laugh in this thing. You got Chris Rock, for God's sakes. And you can, it's just, I don't know. But, I don't know. It's not horrible. I think people will enjoy it to an extent. It just wasn't Goon. Sean?
Yeah, I saw the French horror movie Raw. Raw is a movie I never want to see again, as much as I really, really did love it. This is a really good movie. It's a horror film about a girl who goes off to veterinary school. And you think you know what you're getting yourself into from the trailer. You think this is going to be some kind of weird initiation veterinary thing. No, this is not what you think it is. Trust me. Grance Marillier is the star here as Justine. She's a vegetarian who wants to be a veterinarian. She's going to veterinary school for the first time. And the first week there is this horrific hazing. Like the worst, hazing at this place was worse than hazing you've ever heard of in American colleges. Like they throw all of her stuff out the window. They force her to, in her underwear, crawl underneath a building to get to this party that they're at that everybody has to go to. And if you don't go, you're basically kicked out of the school. It's a nightmare. Just an absolute... Sorry, I'm a little sick. It was just a nightmare. It was every nightmare I've ever had. As someone with social anxiety, I wouldn't last 2 seconds in this. Things just continue to get stranger. She's forced to eat a rabbit kidney at one point, and from there... her bloodlust just kind of goes in ways that you don't expect. And it's her and her sister, and man, I mean, the stuff that they do in this movie is just, it's disturbing, but it's also riveting. You can't take your eyes off of it. You're entranced by it. These are incredible young actresses who are pulling this off, and a really exceptionally directed film. I never want to see it again because it is that disturbing. The way this movie goes, the way that plays out is extraordinarily disturbing. But it's also a woman's sexual awakening. It's a woman who's, it's metaphoric of numerous different things of her coming of age, and it's a coming of age story too, by the way. Wow. I mean, it's a mind-blowing film that I never want to see again in my life because it is that level of disturbing.
Yeah, I read your review of this one, and I said to myself, ooh, sounds like a double feature of Raw and Martyrs.
I tried to watch this, but I lay down in bed to watch it, and all of a sudden I was like, fuck, I got to read it, and I can't close my eyes.
Yes.
It is French, yes.
So I have to pay attention to it, which I want to do. So I was hoping to see it this week. It's just
this is another weird situation. I mean, the thing about Westerns, how I said I never liked Westerns, and now I always like Westerns, it seems. And now it's like anytime I watch like hardcore violence, like I've liked Cannibal Holocaust, I've liked Martyrs, and I love Raw.
You developed a taste.
I'm going to start liking Rob Zombie movies. No, just kidding.
You're safe.
Yeah, they aren't French. Never mind.
Yeah.
If it was French, maybe I'd like it.
We'll never know. He might make a French movie. I mean, he's vegan. Maybe he'll eat a piece of meat and go crazy too. I don't know.
Go?
He is a hippie. You like Devil's Rejects. You defended me on the show.
I know. It's just it's an easy target.
Still gonna bring House of a Thousand Corpses just to fuck with you guys.
Yeah, that's cool.
Anything else on the show that we are forgetting?
I don't know. Do we have time to mention?
Oh yes, please. You saw Lady Bird.
I did see Lady Bird, and I thought since The Big Sick and Lady Bird were both of your top two choices that I really needed to get on that, and the opportunity to see Lady Bird's right there, and I jump on it. Now, Lady Bird is a good movie. I didn't see an ounce of fat on it at all, but I didn't have the same visceral reaction to it the way that I did with The Big Sick at certain moments and really needing to pound out what's going on before I continue. But girlfriend and I watch the movie, we finish it, and then we're both like, do you really think that it's as good as everyone says it is to merit 100% on Rotten Tomatoes or what, whatever it arrived at, except that one critic? And I said, no, but Saoirse Ronan is really great. And it's a very realistic film in that people doing things that you think are just very natural progressions for their character. And Laurie Metcalf, she's trying so hard to just do the right thing for her child, but she has a hard time communicating it. And I like the dynamic between them where, okay, giving away the end of the film is not what I want to do here, but of course, you guys know what I'm speaking of. The revelation that they have between the two of them that is communicated in the way that it is the film's best moment to me. That's what I like the most out of it. And I think that's really what the film was trying to convey anyways, was that. And so I think I got it. I just didn't, like you, for example, found an interesting angle on this
something
film.
To it from...
You had a personal experience with it, and you thought, that's really neat. And plus, you really liked the movie. And you were effusive about the performances of this movie and how Saoirse Ronan can... I'm finally saying her name right. I'm so pleased. I'm kind of saying it right. How she can perform the way she did in Brooklyn and then manage to pull this off as an American teenager and do it really well. I understand why you thought that it was as good as it is. And it's not, like, it is good. But would it make my top 10? Was I affected by it the same way as the movies that were in my top 10? No. And that's okay. It exists. It's good. I can recommend it. I'm not as effusive about it.
I mean, with Rotten Tomatoes, I mean, it's mostly about recommending. Not everybody's going 4-star, 4-star, 4-star. They're all saying that they recommend the movie for the most part.
Yes.
That's what's really... I mean, even the guy who gave it the Rotten Tomato, his was a 2.5-star review, which was mostly a recommendation. No one tore it apart. I don't think anybody really has the opportunity to. It's that good. Greta Gerwig's direction is so understated, and I think that's what people keep missing about this movie, is that she creates a movie that it's a character study and it has a story, but it's just about tone and feel. And she creates that tone and that feel throughout, and it's so consistent, and it's so beautiful, and it's so moving. All of it together, it's this wonderful symphony of actress and director, and the moments that she just carries with her camera. It's incredible. That montage sequence on their date is one of the best things I've ever seen of a director. Honestly, one of the best I've ever seen.
Yeah,
That's why it's on my list so high.
It's a real sublime accomplishment for a first-time director. I wonder, and you guys may have the answer to this, is this something that comes from her personal experience?
Yeah.
Okay. Well, that's what I kept thinking the whole time. Like, is this her love story to her
it's
teenage
not quite
years?
as close to the Big Sick was actually their story. It's
Sure.
it's more of a kind of... I think it's also a love letter to Sacramento as well, because she hated it at the time, but in hindsight. But I don't know. I guess maybe for me it was kind of like what La La Land was for you last year. Just no way was I thinking this would be that big on my list, and then I saw it and I was like, wow, this is a really cool experience.
Yeah, there's another portion of this that I should like too, in that it's capturing a moment in time in somebody's life. It's not necessarily starting from when she was very, very young to her as an adult or something like that. It's the snapshot of the latter half of a senior year of high school,
which is something I
she's
generally
really formative.
hate.
Yes, and I thought of that as well when I was watching it and thinking, oh, I should really be grabbing onto this. Expectation, of course, is the deliverer of low results, whatever the actual cliche is. Of course, I'm forgetting it, but expectation is something of disappointment. You know what I'm saying. And so, therefore, I had that working against me too. But of course, it's good. I'm just excited that I finally saw it.
Yeah, you've knocked off what we got left, The Post to see. And
The Post. All things being equal, I plan on seeing that on Thursday.
Which comes out. The Post is this week. The Commuter, Paddington 2, and Proud Mary, it looks like. Finally, we have movies to watch. I'm kind of excited about Proud Mary. I finally saw the trailer for that. I thought that was a neat, fun little... I mean, it could be complete shit, but it looked fun in the trailer. So,
and it gives us an opportunity to do Foxy Brown as the classic.
Really? That sounds fantastic.
I mean, I'm just saying, a similar idea.
Works for me. Watch it not come. Let's do it. Provided we can get it. I imagine it's on.
I have no
Amazon,
idea. I've not done any research.
If we can't get it, would we back up to something like Jackie Brown?
Could. We'll do a Pam Grier movie.
Some Pam Grier movie, yes.
Let's see. Foxy Brown on Amazon. Nothing else. Yes, it is there. But if for some reason it's gone by the time we try to go watch something, then we will watch another Pam Grier movie, possibly Jackie Brown. Top 5. We didn't talk about this before the show.
No, we didn't. That's what professionals do. And
why we get paid the little bucks. Movies with song titles in their name.
Yeah, there you go.
Unless we do something with The Post, but
I know we've done the journalism movie before, and we've done the Spielberg, the Hanks,
Streep.
the Streep. So yeah, that's a good angle. I'm going to be far behind on you guys when it comes to picking out good ones.
Simple Google search is all.
Yeah.
Ooh, brown sugar.
Anything else I'm forgetting for next week? All right, in that case, I played our Patreon supporters at the beginning. If you want to be a Patreon supporter, head over to ihatecritics.net/Patreon to help grow our podcast. iTunes will read a review on the air if you go to Apple Podcasts or iTunes and rate and review the show. And then please subscribe. It helps us move up the charts and compete with the other 50 million movie review podcasts that are out there. Otherwise, we will do Flickchart after the credits.
That ought to do it. Thanks very much, Ray.
And we're the three best friends that anybody could have. We're the three best friends that anyone could have. We're the three best friends that anyone can have. And we'll never, ever, 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 ever leave each other. We're the best three friends that anybody can have. I mean, the three best friends that anybody can have. That's right, the three best friends that anybody can have. Patreon people again.
Want me to play them again?
Did you do that or
At the beginning.
at the beginning? Okay. I thought you were doing that for last week. I didn't know if you...
I can do it again.
I don't. What do you think?
We can do it after the, hey, we're still going. You guys want to do the Patreon people? Let's thank our key grip, Charlie Messing. Our character actors, Christina and Josh.
I think this is the beginning of a beautiful friendship.
Our special effects people, Corey.
May the force be with you.
Our associate producer, Jason from New Mexico.
What? This is crazy. You want me to hit you?
That's right.
What? Like in the face?
Surprise me.
Our executive producer, Uncle Jeff.
You talking to me? You talking to me?
And our movie star, Dave Severs.
I want the truth. You can't handle the truth.
Now, if we would have had a movie in 1988,
Number 18 in 1988. Squeezed and pulled and hurt my neck in 1988.
Squeezed and pulled and hurt your neck in 1988.
but we didn't have one. Do we gotta review Burnt Offerings?
No, that's fine. I don't see a need. But Josh didn't even say it. So.
Right. So just be me. Josh, go home. No. Mrs. Doubtfire or The Exorcist?
I gotta choose one of those. The Exorcist.
The Exorcist.
I like both of them, but I'm obviously The Exorcist. The page loaded so fast, and the second one always takes longer. Phone Booth or Justice League Doom, the cartoon. I'm going to change that one.
Yeah,
That's a good one.
I'm sure it's fine.
Did you see Armand White's latest thing? Why Justice League is better than Wonder Woman?
What? Oh, poor guy.
It's Armand White.
Head injuries are terrible.
What was his reasoning?
I didn't read it. I just saw the headline. It's on IndieWire if you want to see it.
I don't.
See, curiously, is he a former NHL hockey enforcer?
Phone Booth or Jurassic Park 3?
Phone Booth.
Phone Booth.
By a mile. You've Got Mail or Anchorman, The Legend of Ron Burgundy.
Anchorman.
Anchorman.
Yep. A Christmas Story or The Bourne Identity.
Bourne Identity.
Agreed.
Me 3. I feel bad because there's an audience there that I am not a part of. Kick-Ass or Ghostbusters 84.
Ghostbusters.
Ghostbusters.
Love Kick-Ass.
Yeah. One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest or Stranger Than Fiction.
Cuckoo's Nest.
Cuckoo's Nest.
Yep. Master and Commander, The Far Side of the World or Planet of the Apes 1968.
That is tough, actually. I really like the original Planet of the Apes. I'm still going to go Master Commander. I think it's a better movie.
Master and Commander, definitely.
Yeah, I think you're right. I think I'll go Planet of the Apes just for watchability's sake. This is a longer movie, but it is a better movie. I agree. Fight Club or Super Size Me?
Fight Club.
The documentary about McDonald's.
Yeah.
Fight Club. Big Daddy or Batman 1989?
Batman.
Ice Age 2 or Saw?
Saw.
I love making Josh do something he doesn't like.
Ice Age is more torture porn for me.
I agree completely.
If only that was said earlier in the show.
Did you guys see the picture from a comedian that showed the huge break in the ice in the Antarctic and the South Pole? And somebody tweets, "That damn squirrel."
Oh, Jesus.
Wow. Risky Business or Man on Fire?
Risky Business.
We talking about the Denzel Man on Fire?
2004.
Yep, I'll take that one.
We'll go Risky Business. You can go back and listen to that episode if you want. Ghostbusters 84 or Underworld?
Oh, it's Ghostbusters.
Ghostbusters.
Blade Runner 82 or The Shawshank Redemption?
Blade Runner.
The Shawshank Redemption by a bit.
Blade Runner by a lot. 40 Days and 40 Nights or Juno?
Juno. I like 40 Days and 40 Nights, though. I gave it actually a slightly positive review.
Which would be fresh on Rotten Tomatoes. And if everybody gave it a slightly positive review, it could be 100%. The Italian Job or Fahrenheit 9/11?
Fahrenheit 9/11.
Agreed.
Yeah. Transformers, Revenge of the Fallen or Flubber?
Oh, man.
That is just evil. That is just evil. Flubber.
I'll never forgive Flubber for taking the big screen at the Milan Cinemas from Alien Resurrection. Never forgive it. Transformers.
Yeah, I gotta go Transformers too, but
Never pick up Transformers. Never.
As Good as It Gets or The Italian Job?
As good as it gets.
Agreed.
Yeah.
You're gonna engineer this somehow to make it Adam Sandler versus Transformers. It's gonna happen one of these days.
Well, let's see how his hands move behind the keyboard.
Too much work, especially when I go and get shitty internet in a couple of weeks. Babe or Dr. Seuss with Jim Carrey?
Babe.
Babe.
The Holiday or Cloverfield?
Cloverfield.
Anything but The Holiday.
Cloverfield. Bowling for Columbine or American Beauty?
Bowling for Columbine.
American Beauty.
American Beauty. I don't like the documentaries being in here. It bugs me. It's bugged me all 3 times that they've popped up so far. Avatar or Spaceballs?
Spaceballs.
Spaceballs. Oh.
Did you guys see how Spaceballs predicted Last Jedi? They were showing I just saw a clip where the Rick Moranis' character is talking to Bill Pullman's character, and he's telling him how they're all related. He goes, "Well, basically, you don't matter."
I didn't see that, but I did see that Jim Cameron was saying that there might not be that many Avatar movies. There may be if they don't do well, he may not get to make them.
Duh. I'm glad he realizes that, though.
Well, we don't have to see another one, do we? I mean, well, you do.
The Ring or Alien?
Alien.
Alien.
Yeah, by a lot. Even though I'm the only one who kind of likes The Ring. The Fantastic Four, Rise of the Silver Surfer, or Gran Torino?
Gran Torino.
Gran Torino.
A lot of clean sweeps today. The Italian Job or Naked Gun?
They really want us to talk about the Italian Job for some reason. Which Italian Job is this? The Mark Wahlberg one?
03, yeah.
I mean, that's not bad. No, I'll take Naked Gun, though. I could watch Naked Gun any time.
Yeah.
Yeah, this is the point of the
Love
show
it, but-
where I have to admit that I watched The Naked Gun instead of our classic this past week.
That's okay.
I would choose that in this situation.
There was probably more offerings in that movie.
Yeah, there was Burning.
O.J. Simpson, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
The Addams Family, 91, or Monty Python and the Holy Grail?
Monty Python.
Monty Python.
Waterworld or The Shawshank Redemption?
Shawshank Redemption.
Agreed.
Yep. 3 Days to Kill, a movie I've not seen, and Pretty Woman.
You can skip 3 Days to Kill.
I Am Legend and Pretty Woman.
I Am Legend.
I Am Legend.
I hate Pretty Woman.
You've got almost 2 years until that turns 30. That's it.
We need to find someone who likes it and make them come on the show and talk about it.
I've got a lot of ex-girlfriends, man. They all
because of that movie. No. You like the movie? All right, we're done. Bridget Jones' Diary, Little Buddha.
Anybody seen Little Buddha?
No.
Not seen Little Buddha. Bridget Jones' Diary, Office Space.
Office Space.
Ooh. It's Office Space, but...
I like Bridget Jones' Diary, too. Yeah.
Batteries Not Included or Batman Returns?
Which one was Batman Returns?
DeVito.
I really don't like that, but I really don't like Batteries Not Included either. Batman. Just for being Batman, I guess.
Catwoman alone is better than anything. Batteries
The
Not
age I
Included.
saw it is why I like Batman Returns.
Yeah. Skin-tight vinyl and a whip.
Well, there's that too, but I mean, it's Batman. I don't have a problem with anything else. Alien 3, Someone's Watching Me, 1978. I've never seen that movie. Looks good, though. Alien 3 or Dumb and Dumber?
Let's see. Dumb and Dumber?
Oh, no! Alien 3.
Alien 3 is not really... It should have been. Wasn't that just kind of horribly behind-the-scenes bullshit going on for everybody?
I won't get into it again, but there's a wonderful story of potential that rivals any other film that I've heard about behind the scenes.
I don't
and
despise it or
great.
anything. I'm just saying that Dumb and Dumber, I at least laugh.
Right.
Alien 3, you say, oh, look at David Fincher film things. I mean, because it's it's the first movie to use the widescreen Panavision lens. Look at it from just that perspective, production value alone. It's extraordinary to watch. Just hit mute, I suppose. You know, then you don't have to listen to people.
Yeah, it's Dumb and Dumber, but it's not a I don't know.
It's a weird comparison.
The potential...
Who would compare those two things?
Yeah, it's hard to choose potential over just, okay, it was funny. American Werewolf in London, Forrest Gump.
American Werewolf in London.
Agreed.
We never really talked about that on the show.
No, we should sometime.
Maybe when the werewolf movie comes out. The Jeremy Saulnier movie.
Hey.
Batman 89 or Bridget Jones' Diary?
Batman.
We need to end this on Bridget Jones versus the Italian Job, right? I mean, that's... I don't think we're going to. Alice in Wonderland or Analyze This?
Anything that isn't Alice in Wonderland.
Yeah, agreed. Analyze this.
1951, Alice in
Still.
Wonderland.
Oh, wait, 1951. Hang on a second.
Come on, Italian Job. Fuck it. Gremlins or Platoon?
Platoon.
Agreed.
I'll just do this to torture me. Twilight or Vanilla Sky?
Vanilla Sky.
Yes.
I will pick Vanilla Sky as well. Come on, give us something fun to end on. You guys seen Guys and Dolls?
I have.
I have not.
It was Amelie versus that. We'll see Amelie versus 28 Days Later.
Amelie.
Yep. And we've bored you guys enough. Ghost, Stranger Than Fiction.
A Ghost with Patrick Swayze?
Yes.
Stranger Than Fiction, yeah.
Ghost, barely.
I think I agree with Josh. Yep, we're done. Bye.